core business is we have a two-sided marketplace connecting those who have trailers or any kind of trailing asset with those who need them.
Back in March of last year, the Freight Caviar team visited Chattanooga for the first time. Ryan Rogers, the CEO and founder of TextLocate, took us on a tour of Freight Alley. Chattanooga employs more people in logistics per capita than anywhere else in the United States. We had an amazing time visiting various companies from freight tech to freight insurance to freight brokerages all around Chattanooga. Then we came back in November for the F3 conference hosted by FreightWaves in the city of Chattanooga, and we were able to sit down with the REPOWR team. We were able to talk to AJ Cheek, the Chief Product Officer, and Evan Shelley, the CEO and founder of Truck Parking Club. Together, we had a discussion with Reed Lustelot from Lost Freight and Christian Gebis, my co-founder and CEO of Shipper CRM. So before we dive in, we wanted to let you know also about another company in Chattanooga that's doing really great things, Reliance Partners. Reliance Partners is the latest sponsor of Freight Caviar, and they offer tailored insurance strategies for businesses of all sizes across the US, Canada, and Mexico. Reliance isn't just about compliance, they're about reducing costs and improving CSA scores, which means fewer audits and lower premiums. Their expert team with deep industry knowledge delivers substantial coverage at reasonable costs, offering options like self-insurance and captive programs. Rated America's fastest growing commercial insurance agency with top-notch customer service. Join thousands who trust Reliance Partners. Visit reliancepartners.com or call 877-668-1704 for your specialized quote today. And now let's dive in to this unique special episode. We're at the REPOWR headquarters in Chattanooga, Tennessee. This week's F3, so we're here for F3. AJ Cheek, the Chief of Staff at REPOWR. What's going on, man?
Excited to have y'all here.
Yeah,
So y'all are the first steps of people rolling into town. Excited to have more people here tonight, and big week in Chattanooga.
Yeah, definitely. Reed, I want you to do a little bit of an intro here. So
REPOWR. I met Tucker, who is like a kind of salesy, kind of like carrier-facing guy here. I met him on Twitter months ago, and I think he bought a hat from me first, and then he joined the Discord, and he just came to all the Twitter space. He's a good dude. He's a great guy. And then that's basically how we got all linked up.
Yeah.
And I came to the office here in August, I think, when I was visiting Chattanooga. Said what's up, and they were like, hey, like, we should do an event for F3, and I'm like, let's do it. So now we're doing this. Now we're here. Now we're recording you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, thank God for Tucker.
Yeah,
the rest of us are busy.
Yeah, and then we also have Evan. Evan Shelley, right?
Yeah.
From the Truck Parking Club. So we'll have a little conversation about what's going on in the industry from that, I guess, regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Can you tell us, AJ, what does REPOWR do?
Yeah, REPOWR is a platform that allows transportation companies to share equipment. So specifically what that means for us is trailers, so OTR equipment, could be drive-ins, reefers, flatbeds. We do a little bit in the intermodal space with chassis. Don't touch containers for the most part. But yeah, that's us.
Okay, cool.
What's your background in freight?
I worked with a food distribution company locally called What Chefs Want for a couple of years. While I was there, we had a sister asset-based reefer carrier, had about 12 trucks, and realized that was a difficult thing to scale in 2019. In fact, a difficult thing to operate at all in 2019. So during that year, we spun up a freight brokerage company, another guy and I who actually be here tonight, Topo Logistics.
That sounds very familiar for some reason. I'm not sure if you mentioned them.
They've got they got an office on Market Street in town. Okay. They're former Coyote guys.
Got it.
Some of them were dated all the way back to Access, but that's So Scott and I started it. He still runs it. They do an awesome job. So I was in brokerage for like 2 years. At that time, we were like a 2-man shop, so we did everything. And then came from Topo to join REPOWR
Okay.
in 2021.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know that REPOWR just raised some capital a few months ago, right?
We did. Yeah, we finished a financing round in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's definitely, or this current market is a little bit tough to raise money in, and so I mean it does show a lot when you do raise that there's some product market fit already. Like that's a good signal to raise money in this market, because for the last 2 years it was kind of like anyone's getting money, and now it's
REPOWR is not a zero interest rate phenomenon. Is that what we're saying? It's kind of.
Yeah.
So,
We believe so. Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. How many people do you guys have?
We have 24 full-time folks.
And you guys started in an incubator, right?
We did. So Spencer and Pat started the company at an incubator in Birmingham called Innovation Depot. And then they got their first check, or first investment, from a group in town called Brickyard that have some ties to Bellhop, another startup from Chattanooga, as well as to ties from the guys who started Access. So deep Chattanooga and transportation roots there. They brought the company to Chattanooga with that investment. And so then we were in a part of Brickyard, which is not an accelerator, but has a physical space where you can go work if you're a Brickyard company. We worked out of Brickyard for 2 years, so that part of 2 years or so.
It's interesting. So you started in Birmingham. Then you guys, were you considering other places, or was it like always you're going to come here?
We've actually had a joint office in Birmingham for a time as well. So for a little while, Spencer and Pat, the founders, were commuting back and forth, and we've had overlap employees that have had ties there as well. So it was really, we still have a presence in Birmingham to a degree, but Chattanooga made a lot of sense from the outset.
It's interesting because Evan is just moved here and is starting, obviously, Truck Parking Club, and he is in our ear about Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm getting paid nothing for that, actually.
no kickbacks from the city yet.
No. I mean, there's such a good ecosystem for it. I mean, it's, there's so many companies that either started here or moved here. There's capital to support you. And I think there's just a lot of people want to do cool shit.
I didn't know you'd moved officially.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's here.
I saw you last.
Stealth mode.
You were in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Before that?
Yeah. I just moved here beginning of October.
Okay, awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just curious, like, obviously you guys, you have ties to Brickyard, you're here for that. Like, how have you found hiring here? How have you found just like building a business here?
Yeah, well, I'll say we were unique in the sense that, as part of Brickyard's condition is you have to come spend a year here. But aside from that, for all the reasons you just mentioned, Chattanooga was perfect, and the company would have probably entertained it without Brickyard, just because of all the synergies and, like you said, the support system, the ecosystem here is really impressive, particularly for the size. Hiring's been great. I mean, we have, particularly if you're hiring from the logistics side of the house, like half of our employees have technical backgrounds, the other half have logistics backgrounds. Now we actually have a couple with a blend that have technology backgrounds from a former logistics company or something like that. But that side of the house has been awesome. There's really not a better place to hire talent. On the technology front, you have to get creative to a degree. We've been able to hire several folks from.
Because you guys have engineering here, right?
We split, split the house. So we've got about 3 or 4 either engineers or data scientists here locally, and then the other probably 4 or 5 full-time or remote.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm also curious, AJ, can you tell us like what your role as chief of staff is? Because like I kind of want to understand that better. What are your responsibilities on a day-to-day?
Yeah, a lot of project-based stuff, but my home base is I do, speaking of brokerage, kind of our demand channel or demand partnerships. So do a lot of work with different 3PLs or brokerages or different platforms that are kind of aggregators of demand there for us. So spend a lot of time on the partnership commercial side.
Hey there, amazing listeners. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on our podcast, we need your support. It will only take a moment, but it would mean the world to us. Please make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with one of your friends that would enjoy our content. Your engagement helps us reach more people and bring more awesome episodes to you. Thanks a million, and thanks for being part of the podcast community.
How does the partnership stuff work? So you partner with brokerages and 3PLs?
Yeah, so in several ways. So brokers can, depends on their makeup. If they're traditional non-asset based brokerage, then they can, reserve trailers directly and use them as their own trailer pools.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they could call a shipper and basically tell them like, hey, I got trailers, I can drop them. So they're like, what they're called is asset light freight brokerages. That's kind of like the buzzword that people sometimes make fun of.
Well,
Sure.
Well, we've been hearing. Yesterday when we were listening to that podcast, they were talking a lot about how a lot of brokerages are trying to differentiate themselves.
Yeah. Which podcast was that? Which podcast?
Silver's Freight Pod.
Oh, you're listening to it? Okay.
Oh no. Oh, I was with Rob. I was in Rob's car. Yeah, we listened to that, and they were talking a lot about how brokerages now, to get in front of a shipper, you call a shipper now, they're getting bombarded by
Exactly.
brokerages, and if you have nothing really to bring besides a brokerage, it's harder to sell into a lot of shippers these days. So
that's really cool though.
It's like I didn't even know you guys did that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Wait, so that is really cool because it definitely helps a lot of brokerages. So, from that point, are most of your customers freight brokerages or trucking companies, or is it split?
From the demand side,
Can you define demand side for us?
Yeah.
For the
So
audience.
We do a couple things outside of our primary marketplace, but our core business is we have a two-sided marketplace connecting those who have trailers or any kind of trailing asset with those who need them.
Mm-hmm.
So the demand side would be those who need them, and overwhelming majority of folks today on the demand side are still going to be carriers. And I say it, overwhelming majority is not accurate. It used to be true. But still, the majority of our folks renting equipment or interchanging our equipment are carriers. So small fleets to owner-operators. But that number, that percentage is lessening as we have more and more 3PLs, more and more brokerages renting directly, either for their own pools or they're doing what we call reserve on behalf of, a robo. So they're actually reserving on behalf of their carriers, similar to how a freight dispatch service would work. Actually, is how that kind of financial model looks on our platform.
Very interesting.
Why didn't this actually exist prior to REPOWR? Was there something in the market that changed that allowed this to happen? I mean, it seems like an obvious thing to do.
Yeah, we started in 2021. We started in the most, the tightest equipment capacity market that you can imagine. So that definitely kind of expedited the origin of REPOWR, gave it kind of instant credibility or need. But several other things. I mean, the technology wasn't there either. I mean, we couldn't do much of what we do without integrations with telematics providers.
Okay.
And that really hasn't been prevalent from an integration standpoint until, post 2020, really, 2019 maybe. But so it's hard to do what we do without that. And other people have tried it previously. A lot of carriers have their own interchange programs, power-only programs that do a very good job. So those have existed, but sort of a agnostic, if you will, to use a buzzword platform. I think it took a culmination of a couple events, including probably the craze of COVID to really kick it off.
I mean, you guys probably have a lot of fleets too that are needing to reposition equipment. They have a lot of trailers and they're like, well, what do we do with our trailers if we're not using them? And you guys are almost like a new place for them to put equipment.
It's kind of like
to
an
generate
Airbnb.
revenue. Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
You post your trailer.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
I'm guessing there's a lot more trailers available now on the marketplace because there's less freight.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to get to the freight broker side again. So freight brokers, if they want to utilize a trailer or a pool of trailers, how much does a trailer cost? I don't know, is it on a per day basis or is it a per month basis? How does that look like? Let's just say a freight broker is listening right now, I want to start working with REPOWR.
Sure.
Can you take us through that process?
Yeah, so it boils down to a daily rate for us, and it's variable in the market. So we can share all this information as well. It's available on REPOWR if you have an account.
Okay.
So we've got kind of an index that looks like Freight Waves, where we're showing you what the market pricing is, how we think it's going to
Is
change.
that all your data that's like internal?
We're leveraging REPOWR harness data.
Yeah.
We hope to have some partners kind of mixing in that to enhance the data, but that's where we are today. But the pricing can vary depending on the equipment, the age of the equipment, the duration in which you want to commit to a rental, what market you happen to be in. But today I think this morning the average rate for a drive-in nationally was about 19 or $20 a day.
Wow, that's so cheap. I feel like, but like that's obviously dipped, right? Like from COVID peaks. Like,
Yeah, it has. I mean, in COVID, we had drive-ins. I think our average daily rate was $33 a day. It went all the way up $50-$60 a day. Yeah.
it's like even like up to like 100% decrease. 100%, sorry, 50% decrease in
It's actually crazy.
So you guys, all of your you folks with trailers, your capacity, is that what you guys call it? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
So flyer capacity.
So they have the option to set their own daily rate or use your guys' kind of like data backed rate. And that's very similar to like how you guys, because your capacity is available parking, and you guys probably have a lot of spot owners who are like, I want to price at this, and you're like, well, the market isn't that. Like, you're not going to get any bookings at that sort of rate. It's very similar, right?
We just make suggestions based on the market, and what people end up doing is they look in the area, and if there's anything in the area, they're going to try to be competitive on price.
Yeah.
But we have people that go way high, and then the market always determines the price.
Yeah.
Because people, drivers they'd rather park on the shoulder than overpay by $20, $30.
So I'm actually curious, what's the daily price right now on average for like an overnight truck parking?
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing how wide it varies. I would say the national average 15, 20, maybe 25, but LA, it's 45 to 65 per day. Rural Kentucky, it's 5 to 10.
Sure.
So there's a pretty wide range.
Got it. Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, it's like the marketplace model, like is just allows you to see. You guys are privy to a lot of information, and you're able to really just be kind of like the eyeballs into a market for people who
I think it
have visibility into that.
Yeah, I think we both experience this. Like, it creates so much awareness about what is going on and pricing power, and as you get more and more locations, speaking for us specifically, you can actually watch as demand moves across the U.S. in real time. I'm sure you guys see that, where it's like the Northeast will blow up for us for like a week or two, and then it'll get quiet for a week, and then you'll watch as like Atlanta starts to blow up, and it's interesting. I don't know necessarily what we're going to do with that data, but
That's very
it's cool to see.
That data is really good for just creating content. Like for me, I'd be interested to see like what are the truck parking like prices like in specific cities around, like, and having like a map where like you see like LA and it's like $40 to $65, and like rural there's like $5, like having a whole map. Same thing for trailers. Like that'd be cool. Like that'd be something like I would love to like just even like distribute through Freight Caviar, where it's like, oh, these are like the trailer prices of a drive-in in these specific cities. That's actually, I think, good data just for creating content and educating people. But I'm also curious, because we actually had this discussion earlier. It's like, so when a brokerage or anyone for that matter would take a trailer, like there's obviously like insurance agreements that have to be put into place to rent out that trailer.
Yeah.
What does that look like on that front?
Yeah, it can look like a host of things depending upon the makeup of the brokerage and what their policy is, who their underwriter is, or what the policy is, what's going to allow for. Sometimes it's pretty easy, and they've got a history of working with assets and it's insured, they get it. Others, they're coming to it for the first time, and they might not even know that their policy is going to get kicked if an incident happens and they actually have a rented trailer as a part of the incident, because that can happen with some traditional brokerage coverages. So we can work with the brokerage to help them audit that. We also sell an insurance product on the platform that you can sell to the end renter. You can also sell it to the brokerage, in which it has the proper coverage that a brokerage would need to get that trailer, and that can be held outside of their general policy, so it won't affect their general policy.
Sure. It's like a per trailer kind of thing. You just add on insurance.
Exactly how it works for like a per day,
How much is
cargo
that?
insurance.
On average.
Yeah, it's based off of the equipment as well, and then it also is based off the credit of the of the person who's purchasing it, the organization that's purchasing it. But physical damage policy runs anywhere from $4 to $15 a day, and if you were to get the auto liability and the physical damage included, like if you're a broker, anywhere from $9 to $24 a day, kind of depending upon.
Do you guys have like a partner that provides that?
Yes. I mean, Reliance partners here locally.
I was going to say Reliance probably is a good partnership.
That's right across the street, right?
It is. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're huge. That's awesome. Okay, so like let's just say like a freight brokerage, even like let's say they're not too large, but they want to start offering start doing some trailer tools or drop trailers for their shippers, customers.
Yeah.
Like, is it pretty simple? Like they just go on the website repower.com and like they just kind of like was it?
Yeah, sort of like an Airbnb or like a load board looking for your equipment. They can grab it, pick up instructions, all that stuff will be made available kind of once payment and insurance is secured. And then, how they power to get the trailer will be up to them if they got a, broker or carrier or what have you. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
And are these trailers like left at like certain parking lots or like at the parking lot of the owner of the asset?
It could be at a point, yeah.
Or truck parking?
They're all over short answers are all over the place. They're typically in fulfillment centers, distribution centers.
Sure.
Could be the shippers, could be, the carrier's terminal, could be kind of all over the place. But typically it's going to come out of a gated facility and we'll have to help with that transaction or our platform well. So that's a big part of what we're doing is constantly aggregating information around facilities and what does it take to get in and out of these facilities so we can make that process more streamlined.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting overlap between our businesses, right?
Yeah.
Like that, I've talked with you some about Spencer.
I mean, there's a lot of them. There's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Chris, I mentioned this earlier that on your website you have listed that there's like over 250,000 locations.
Mm-hmm.
What does that exactly mean? We were wondering, like.
Yeah, so that's location data that our suppliers are sharing with us.
Okay.
From a standpoint of these are where these trailers are getting picked up and dropped off at.
Okay.
The data I don't know that we've actually had a pick up and drop off at 250,000 in unique ones, but they have been uploaded as potential pick up and drop off locations. I don't know if the true number is for where. How many facilities, but it's a lot.
Sure.
It's definitely in the thousands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
One of the questions I had, so if a guy wants to rent a trailer for a week,
Yeah.
100% paid up front?
In a week, yeah.
What about longer term?
Yeah, so we're going to collect the first 30 days up front. Now and that's just standard transaction on the platform. If somebody wanted to rent 100 trailers or 200 trailers, which happens at times, we'll have deposits required for that. All of it happens in the platform, but yeah, your standard answer is that's going to happen. We're going to collect 30 days, and then we do that in a rolling fashion going forward.
Very cool.
What's the benefit now to somebody who actually posts the asset onto REPOWR, right? Like as let's say Airbnb host.
Yeah.
The incentive is so that I make money. Right?
Very much to your point. A lot of the play is rebalancing of networks, and so it can be an alternative to a loadout or a tow away. So if you got a little extra time, if you can stand to let the trailer go for 30 days as opposed to needing it moved in 5 to 7 days, you can generate revenue on that asset. You can turn an expense into to a profit center, revenue generating move, and meanwhile you're also rebalancing your network, so you're getting trailers where they need to be or out of where they don't need to be.
Do they have to come to you with an idea of how they need to balance their network? Like obviously to start, but I mean, like longer term, like you guys, can you guys be almost like an assistant in helping them like understand that in a sense?
It's
Yeah.
kind of consulting, right?
We just had a long conversation on this exact same topic, and we talked about it a lot. But our customers are very good at what they do on the supply side, and they're each unique. So they all approach asset utilization, network utilization differently. So we don't try to be, an expert to everybody from a network optimization standpoint or anything like that, but we certainly can help. And what we do is we're providing that network data to them, so we can see where the equipment is that we have visibility into. It's anonymous, it's aggregated, but we can see where it is in the U.S. So we can always help them make informed decisions around if they're heavy in Texas and light in Atlanta. What's the best avenue for balancing that out? Is it utilizing company drivers, or is there equipment they can get from the marketplace to supplement? So we can help them make informed decisions, but for the most part, our suppliers are, they are the brains behind the operations. We're just enabling them, and then, our technology and our team is here to support.
I mean, there's also an opportunity, there's, some people might have pools in Dallas that need to go to Atlanta, and then vice versa. You might have people that need to go from. So I mean, there's just like a lot of opportunities to connect dots here. Wow.
Yeah. Have you had any crazy stories where the trailer just gets completely damaged, and then you're someone's really mad at REPOWR? Or, I mean, I guess you guys,
Man, we're all in freight, so yes,
Yeah.
we've had to be pretty upset. Yeah,
I want to hear some crazy stories.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing, or what's some crazy stuff that's happened?
Man, we have had, I can't say a lot of them, unfortunately, but we've had full totals. We've had, speaking of different channels and stuff we're in, we'll have Tucker show up in the morning in some, flatbed Facebook group, and two of the massive damaged trailers happen to have a connection to REPOWR. Thankfully, I think the one that was worse off formerly had gone through our system, but thankfully was successful, and then we just saw it got damaged after the fact. So that damage happens. We try our best to make sure we have a good chain of custody, good paper trail on any of that, to make that process as seamless as possible for the parties to mitigate any of that stuff. But man, we've had stuff get towed, and then the person in the tow yard goes missing. We've had reports of homicide. The whole gamut. I mean, it's you've had all
I've
kinds
got
of
a good story. So one time, when I was brokering, I was a carrier rep at Echo. I had this was probably 6 years ago. We had a load that we had to recover because the driver broke down, and so we had to go find a power only to move this trailer. It was hot delivery, and we had this power only dude. Power only can be, God, it was kind of sketchy sometimes, and to be frank, and ended up having this power only dude basically try to hold the trailer hostage, and ended up leaving it in the middle of Utah. And I had to go find another power. Dude, it's it gets just crazy.
Yeah.
Leave trailer in the middle of nowhere. You have no idea where equipment is. A lot of smaller fleets especially might not even have trailer tracking. They might have an ELD. That's what they use to track their equipment. It's just on the truck, obviously, and not on the trailer. And so I've called. I had to call every truck stop on I-80 in Utah and be like, hey, do you see this trailer in your lot? And ended up, dude. I mean, I probably happens every day.
So is trailer tracking a requirement?
It is not 100% a requirement now. Thankfully, about 85% of our trailers plus on the marketplace are telematics enabled. But if we don't get tracking from the supplier, then we have to do a lot more manual tracking on our own. And so we definitely we provide that support and that service to our suppliers. But it's definitely something that's a challenge if you do not have it. No doubt about it.
So you pick up, somebody an owner op power only grabs one of your guys' trailers. They have 30 days. They can go throw whatever they want in it. They can work with whoever they want to put freight in it. How does that work?
Generally speaking, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
So the supplier can set restrictions on the equipment. Can say, no hazmat. Some equipment, can't go,
No
east
debt.
of Mississippi, whatever it may be.
Just has to be here by a certain date.
Be here by a certain day, but for the most part, you get full flexibility.
Okay. Yeah. And is there ever in the future, is there an opportunity to be like, hey, you grab this trailer from us, here's XYZ load from all of our, you know what I mean?
We have folks, so speaking of brokerages all the time, that are pairing our our trailers with their loads.
Yeah.
But we have no intention of being in the freight business.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess a brokerage could technically rent a load and then sell power only loads from their customers to carriers or people, essentially, because they'd be like, oh, here's our trailer,
Yeah.
go pick it up.
We've got some pretty cool stuff in the works from a matching standpoint where we get visibility into loads and we're able to suggest equipment to match with that load. And we can offer, depending on the market, like alternatives. If you have a live load and the market's better for power only, we can pair a trailer and a power only unit for that live load. So you increase driver capacity. We've got some pretty cool stuff in the works there. But as far as, us ever being in control of the freight, we would never do that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is there any like, brokerage that like is renting like thousands of trailers, like, or utilizing it like in order to be that asset light like provider to shippers, like, or
I
is
think
it
they were called Convoy.
I know Freightvana like is like about to have like 1,000 trailers this year, but they're doing that like on their own.
They do an awesome job. Hell of a shop, by the way, of a business.
Yeah,
Who is this?
Freightvana.
Okay.
Think very highly.
Yeah, they post pictures of their trailers all the time.
They have
Yeah,
great
They love to
trailers.
do that.
They have
Yeah.
great.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
There are brokerages with thousands of trailers. Yes.
Okay, they come in and they're like, yeah, we're about to we don't want to own these trailers, we just want to offer them to our shippers. Because Freightvana actually, I think, owns their trailers. Right?
I think it's a lease, but I mean,
Lease.
yeah.
Okay, so it's more or less like what a brokerage would do with REPOWR. They're not leasing it, right?
Well, I mean, you can read about Freightvana's deal, but that's a direct from
I should know
the
that.
OEM. No, it's okay. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's a lease direct from the manufacturer.
Sure.
But it would be for us. So the difference there is just who owns the equipment, who's
Yeah.
the supplier initially. Our equipment, we do work with some leasing companies, particularly like mid-market leasing companies. We do a little bit of work directly with OEMs, particularly on new builds. But the overwhelming majority of our equipment is, pre-owned, true peer-to-peer model in the sense we're
Yeah.
pulling it from fleets directly.
Definitely.
So that's the main difference is they're not in those scenarios, and that's one particular scenario, not getting trailers from another carrier.
Yeah.
They're getting it direct from an OEM.
So I think like the pros for that, like what Freightvana's model would be, like if the market gets really hot, they still have access to those trailers. Whereas like let's say the market would get really hot right now, or for whatever reason, like the trailers are going to be in hot commodity, so it's going to be tougher to get on the REPOWR network.
Yeah, we help people with this all the time. Is a balance of, hey, if I'm going to have a trailer pool fleet, what should my balance, what should that makeup look like? And that's different for everybody. Do you want to own some? Do you want to long-term lease some? Do you want to short-term rent some from a standard person? And where do you want to tap into REPOWR for your shorter, more flexible stuff?
Yeah.
And so for all the time, we tell people, work people that say, hey, it's actually better for you to take on long-term leases for whatever percentage of your fleet you need. And then you come to us for the kind of the flexible peak season or project-based capacity.
Sure.
And that's what we do well. So it just depends. We work with customers all the time in figuring out kind of what that price difference is and what that breakdown needs to look like for their fleet.
Do you also have like shippers coming to you guys to want to get a trailer pool?
Yeah, we do. In different scenarios, we work with private fleets directly, and then we work with shippers who don't have fleets that just need storage capacity for peak season or for a hangover from a non-peak season.
Sure.
Where they couldn't move in inventory.
So essentially, you have customers on the shipper side, carrier side, and the broker side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice to have that ability to be able to sell to all those parties
the
and
marketplace,
connect them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
What have you guys in terms of your differentiation versus competitors? How are you guys selling yourselves versus others? Why go with REPOWR or insert trailer pool company?
Yeah, it's a true peer-to-peer model in the sense that the supplier is in total kind of control of what they want to do with their assets there, and we've got our platform probably has the largest network of any of the competitors there, and it's full end-to-end solution from a standpoint of we're managing all the invoices in there, full chain of custody, so legal documentation, insurance, in a way that is pretty unique to us. And then we offer some pretty cool market insights back to our suppliers to help them with those decision making. But yeah, that thing. And then speaking of all the turnover trailers and stuff like that, it takes a while to just build the trust in this industry that, hey, if I'm going to let my equipment go out, it's very valuable stuff to our business. I want to do it with somebody who's going to take good care of us.
Sure.
And can't say it always goes perfectly, but we've spent a lot of time building those relationships with people and making sure that we do that well.
Yeah. Do you ever turn down people, let's say some shady trucking companies, I want to illustrate? I'm not sure maybe.
All the time. All the time. It's unfortunate. We like to work as many as we can. That's very much a value prop. Is you've got an owner operator or small fleet that hasn't been in business long or is trying to scale, and they're reaching. They're hitting barriers from cash constraint perspective, or even just age of MC or traditional leasing underwriting. So we try to service as much of that population as we possibly can, and love those carriers. At the same time, that's higher risk, and so we too have to, at least from the marketplace, have to set a floor that says, if you don't hit X, Y, and Z criteria, you don't even get in to begin with, and then from there, each supplier has their own vetting standards that they can automate in the system.
Interesting. That's very necessary, especially in this industry that we work in. There's so many especially right now with all the bankruptcies going on. But
yeah, it's definitely tough, and we're like anybody else. You just try to stay ahead of the cash in that situation.
Are you consistently chasing trailers down where it's shit? Where is this trailer?
Thankfully, the majority of our trailers have telematics, and so we've got a pretty good idea of where the overwhelming majority of our trailers are.
Okay.
But that's definitely an element of the value add that we can bring to our suppliers.
What is chasing trailers?
Dude,
they're chasing trailers.
We're some trailer dogs.
I know Tucker is just hey, where's this trailer? What's going on?
Let's repower a whole tracking team in Colombia, tracking trailers.
There is try to keep a good eye on where the trailers are.
Yeah. Good answer. Any suppliers listening? Give your trailers to REPOWR.
Do people have to take photos of the trailers before picking it up and after delivering it?
Yeah. That part's getting really cool. But today you do a pickup and a drop off inspection form every time.
Okay.
And that's going to be just a picture, quick snapshots around the trailer, internal and in trailer. So when it's picked up, you're going to have photos taken of it. When it's dropped off, you're going to have photos taken of it, and then we're monitoring the history of that trailer so we can see when it goes from reservation to reservation what truly changes.
In terms of equipment types, obviously dry van is probably the most prevalent, and reefer
and flatbed.
Yeah. Do you guys do any kind of crazy specialized stuff?
Kind of stuff, guys?
We do specialty equipment. It kind of all gets lumped under specialty for the most part.
Do you have any lift gates? Do you have? I mean, you probably get suppliers being hey, can I throw my roll door lift gate 48-foot van on the marketplace? And you're probably no.
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten better at the no part there. But it is people bring it to us all the time. When we first started, we had tractors on there, we had trucks on there. We got out of that. It's just trailing assets, non-powered assets. Do you still see lift gates? Do you still see stuff like that? For sure. But the overwhelming majority is dry van.
That lift gate though would come in real and handy when there's loads where you need that. I've had many loads that where I'm calling carriers for lift gate.
Do you have a lift gate trailer? Do you know anyone who has this special type of trailer?
But imagine if you had access to REPOWR, and instead of you just had your guy in Chicago, your buddy, yo, just pick up this trailer, I got you. I'll pick up the load, I'll pay you extra. That'll just make life so much easier.
Yeah, it's available, no doubt about it. We have a better channel to find it than other people, but it's still usually it's tough stuff to find. But there's nothing bar people from listing it, if you will. And there are all kinds of specialty stuff. And then you can always, there's a form on there. So if you search and you don't find what you're looking for, it's going to automatically prompt you to say, hey, what were you looking for? You can send a form in, and then that'll either automate a request out to suppliers who meet those criteria, or our team will get it and we'll say, all right, let me help you go find that 48-foot lift gate, high cube. Whatever crazy thing you're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I've been in that situation.
Definitely.
It's gonna be hard to find. If you need something like that and you don't know, that's really hard sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time with volume. like, hey, I would love to, I've got an opportunity for this RFP, or, I got tendered some stuff I didn't think I was going to get. And if I only had 5 dry vans, I could actually pull this off.
Yeah.
Where else could you spin that up? We see that more often than you see the need for, something wacky, but it happens for sure.
Sure.
If I posted a trailer, let's say a reefer on REPOWR, I owned it, but I didn't have a use case for it for a month. Like, is there an average number of how much I make?
I mean, today you would make you would make $19 a day is what it would bring in, and then REPOWR takes a fee on that. So yeah, roughly you're making about $19 a day.
That's okay. So okay, got it. So like I'm trying to think about like as a host, how much
Sure.
am I making on top of what my costs would be like for owning the trailer? Like if there's a number.
It depends if it's owned or leased, right?
Yeah,
Owned
right.
or like
Right. So I'm just
yeah.
curious, like if there are any studies that have been done on like the customer base, like because
Yeah.
it's pretty attractive. Like honest, I'm not gonna lie, like it's basically a new form of Airbnb. It's like, okay, well you can own a trailer and REPOWR's gonna kind of take care of like getting it booked for me.
Yeah, you saw it a lot more often in like peak COVID madness, where you had more just like institutional investors looking at trailers as an asset they could then cash flow. I don't know that there's a whole lot of activity on that front. We do have suppliers on our platform that are non-traditional, and they're not in the trucking business, but they're investors who own some trailers. That's a very small number of people on our platform. Other platforms that are kind of competitive saw a lot of gain in that during COVID. But it can get attractive. Today, that those numbers are not, it's not a staggering profit center from just a non-traditional standpoint. But we work with suppliers all the time to help them figure that out. And that's usually where it starts is, hey, my lease payment is $500 a month or $700 a month. I need to list it at X to make sure that I'm, this is actually profitable for me. And those are the conversations that we have out of the gate all the time. And so we'll help them, got, sheets we'll work through with them, help them figure that out. Or if you want to spin up some, you want to get
getting some gears.
if you want to get in the trailer game.
Yeah, because Chris just want to buy some reefer trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys probably are. I mean, you're sitting in an interesting chair because you have a good eye on the market. Obviously you have all this data, but you also have like a bunch of inbound communication, right? And I'm sure in 2021 you were getting a lot of calls from people looking for trailers, right? And now you're probably getting a lot of calls from people with trailers who are like, how do I make some money on this?
Man, freight's still moving, but it's it definitely the conversation has definitely changed, and you have more folks calling to say, hey, let's think about this. Instead of 4% of my fleet being underutilized, I've now got like 20% of my fleet sitting around. So let's talk. So what's been nice about that is you do have sort of the ear, if you will, of some of your folks who are just too busy during those times.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time to get in the door with all those big fleets that are like, we're hanging up the phone on you.
Same concept for a freight brokerage company or a
Yeah.
carrier who needs to be building business during a downturn. We're doing the same thing in that sense. We do have a cool, unique pulse kind of on the market, but it lags whatever freight's doing. So, whoever's chasing freight probably has a faster grasp of what's going down than people who are in the equipment space, which actually gives us a little bit of a advantage in the sense we can kind of see what's coming.
Definitely. Have you seen an uptick like during the peak season? I guess there really isn't a peak season this year, but have you seen like an uptick? In the last
We've seen an uptick. Yeah, I don't know like how much it'll continue to go up, but we've seen from October, mid-October really, till not that long till now. We've seen an uptick in demand, uptick in our listing views, all the things we watch to kind of see what demand looks like for us. I don't know. Have you seen an uptick? What do you see on the parking front?
So definitely it started to weaken at the beginning of this year, and it feels like it's stabilizing, but we'll see going into the end of the year. I know a lot of our locations lowered prices over the last 4 months as far as just to bring in more business, but also we're still pulling in market share as quickly as possible. So it's hard for us. What I'm speaking on is probably a lot of anecdotal stuff and just seeing price movements based on price changes by our customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's even with parking where, you know, everything has to be parked at some point in time, there's definitely weakness in the market, no doubt. I mean, a lot of these real estate investors have gotten caught where they pro forma'd. I mean, we were just talking about that the other day. People pro formaing, you know, $300 a month for their property or $30 a day, and it ends up being $15 a day and $150 a month in reality.
Yeah.
But they got sold a dream that that's where it was headed.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some pain in that side of the market.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a unique perspective that we don't get to see as much. You truly interact directly with commercial real estate folks, I would think, people that are very much in that world. How you see people running for the hills there, or?
Well, it's interesting. It seems like there's you know, a part of people that are like, give me a good deal, I'll buy it, and then there's a part of people that are like, holy shit, I got super aggressive the last 3 years, and now nothing's adding up. Especially in these hot markets like Atlanta markets, where, I mean, there were 50-acre deals going, and their pro forma, you know, is $300 a month. That market's $225 now. So that pro forma looks really rough.
Can you explain that to me in like simple terms?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I honestly don't understand what's going on.
I'm just so deep in the I'm like just like throwing shit around.
Like, explain to me this sounds like a 5-year-old.
Okay. So a real estate investor will go and say, I have this, you know, 5-acre facility. I can fit 100 trucks on it, and I'm going to make $300 per truck per month, based on the market.
Sure.
Or,
Which is like $30,000, right?
Yeah. But they may have the market may have been $250 at the time, but they pro forma is just
expecting that it's going to get higher.
They're expecting that it's going to be $300 per truck per month, and now it's $225.
Okay.
You know, I'm speaking on like Atlanta.
Sure. So that'd be $75,000 less per month than they were expecting. How much are they paying for that property?
Well, that's they've either paid for that property based on that $300 per month, or they're leasing it based on that $300 per month. And a lot of those guys, I mean, we have 180 properties now. We've seen a handful of guys like just chop a lease and just, I'm out, I'm done, just walk away.
You're just losing too much money on it, or?
Yeah, you're not making any money, and maybe they have outs on the lease. Maybe they say, chase me.
Okay, but like, with that lease, they probably locked it in like a low mortgage rate, right? Is that like how it works? Like
on the mortgage, perhaps, but no matter where the mortgage rate is at, they're still running a model that's a pro forma, just a model on, you know, $300 per truck per month.
Okay.
So they're ultimately underwater, and they're probably having to put money into the site, and that's assuming they're fully occupied or 90% occupied.
Sure, and that's still like,
they're probably not.
Definitely, yeah.
So in that side of it, when the investors got super aggressive, which is probably 5 or 10% of the market, they're probably like, you know, in a bad spot. Well, I know some of them are for a fact. But the kind of the veterans of the game, which is there's a handful of them out there in truck parking operations specifically, which is not our core market, but those guys, they knew what was happening and were, you know, very smart, not to get too aggressive with it. So, you know, it's even for things like truck parking, you definitely still see weakness.
Yeah. How do the traditional truck parking folks respond to Truck Parking Club?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. So I would say half of them love what we're doing and get what we're doing, and the other half think that we're somehow competing against them, trying to like steal their business, when in reality we're really not. We're there when you need us. Hey, you got 10 extra spaces, let us rent those out as dailies and make you extra income while they sit empty. But ultimately, which I'm sure you guys, you know, have encountered this, you find who your best customers are. You find where you provide the most value. And for us, we work with a lot of truck parking operators, but ultimately they're not our best customer because they have this idea that we're trying to take income away from them, when in reality we should just be a supplement to their business, like I believe you kind of hit on. So it's, you know, it's an interesting thing, but the guys that use us end up loving us, and I would say ultimately we'll have most of the truck parking operators, but for whatever reason, some of them think we're, you know, competing, and we will never own or operate a truck parking facility, just like you guys will, you know, I assume never buy a trailer, because if you want to be, like you said, agnostic or an unbiased third party marketplace, you should never compete in that marketplace. Now you could, like, there comes a point in time where marketplaces do start to compete, like in Amazon. I mean, they now have products, but they're so entrenched that it doesn't matter.
It's creeping on the line of antitrust eventually.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast on it. Yeah, but you have to be super entrenched in the market to ever want to think you can compete. And at this point, I know for Truck Parking Club, like, no desire to compete in that market.
It's also like a different business model, you know?
Oh yeah, it's
like,
operating versus a marketplace.
Yeah, which is also like, I guess, it would like make you unfocused on like one part aspect of the business. You got to build, you know, Amazon is able to do that because they obviously have billions of dollars and make like $66 million in revenue per hour. So they have like the ability to invest in that, and like, but I feel like when you're a smaller company, it's just focus on one thing and just
100%.
crush it, and then eventually you can.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of overlap here, because, you know, broker calls you guys up and they're like, hey, we need 60 trailers, and then it might get to a point where, oh, the shipper that we leased all these trailers for, we long-term rented these trailers for, actually can only fit 15 of them now. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, they're all loaded, they're all on their way. Like, what the hell do we do? You know, and then you call up Evan, like, hey, we need 15 30-day slots for trailers. Like, we need a 24-hour I mean, dude, it just gets like, that probably happens. That's probably gonna happen all the time.
It's the beauty of being in Chattanooga,
Yeah.
is that you can hire folks who understand that. And a lot of times your traditional like customer service account rep from a SaaS background and what have you doesn't understand how to troubleshoot something like that.
Yeah, that's like one of those they call them edge cases, but really that happens like every day.
Yeah.
It's not really an edge
world-
case.
world
It's
of
more
edge
just
cases.
like the world. Yeah. It's like, so how do you adapt to that situation and pick up the phone and get creative about solving it?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, we have large freight brokers doing that now with us.
Yeah.
Where they have a trailer reposition, they don't have enough space at whatever facility, they just pop on our self-service app and book it.
Mm-hmm.
I need 3 spaces in Fort Worth, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
This location works, book it right there, it's done.
When did Truck Parking Club launch?
Last year, we're literally like 12 months.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. On the App Store, I'm saying, every iOS, Android.
Yeah, iOS, Android works well on a browser on your phone, also works really well on a desktop.
Cool. Do you guys have an app? Or?
We don't have an app.
It's
No.
all web-based.
Yeah, all web-based.
Web
Yeah,
apps.
Wait, so
Web
the driver like parks the trailer and just take photos just to like send it like.
Yeah, he can do. He can also text it in,
Okay.
so we can do it from a link, which is pretty neat. And so our philosophy. There definitely are pros and cons. There may be a day in which we have mobile apps, but today we're web based, or we're coming in through your email inbox or your text message, and
Sure.
those are interactive.
Yeah, not everybody needs like a dedicated app necessarily.
That's like the misconception. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, when are you gonna do an app? It's like,
So, yeah, and I want to add to that.
Yeah.
I think we had this
we've
conversation
talked
when we
about
first met.
yeah,
right?
we talked about this.
We were a web app. We still are a web app, and we also have the mobile app to complement it, because some people are like, if you don't have an app, I'm not using you.
Yeah.
But
Right.
even at this point, the majority of our bookings come in through a mobile web app,
Yeah.
not through our main app. And we know that,
Yeah.
and that's how our customers find us, and that's how our customers use us. So I'm not against web app. I actually think there is this weird thing where people get obsessed with having mobile apps, and I think it's actually kind of silly for most companies in logistics if you actually think about how your customer is finding you, how your customer
Yeah.
wants to use you. It actually doesn't even make sense to really invest heavily in a mobile app.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually more so they want a pin on their home screen, and if it acted as if it was an app, they wouldn't even care. They wouldn't even know the difference, right? Like all they really care about is not having to, I think, like retype in the URL every single time. And if it can act as an app, it's like
I don't think a lot of people realize that you can save a bookmark, a web URL as an icon on your phone.
We tried to educate our users, which we call members. We tried to educate them on that. Hey, all you have to do is just save it to your home screen,
Yeah.
and it's just
Nobody does.
you just need the icon. Just
Yeah.
for some people, because literally we were going to shows like before we had the app, and they're like, "You don't have an app?" I'm like, "No, look, this is it. It's working on my
Yeah.
phone. It's perfect."
Yeah.
And they're just like, "Nah." They're just so I mean, for us, it was just a choice of for some percentage of our members, that's what they want.
What's so we've probably been doing this for a while, right? How long have we been doing this?
about an hour.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Like when you started this, and you were looking into the future, you were like, I'm the chief of staff at REPOWR now. I don't know when you got that title, but whenever you started.
Yeah.
Has everything did you expect, looking back, pretending you're in that position again, like, has it gone the way you expected? Like, how has it been? Like, what did you least expect? Like, what's been, just kind of reflect on your experience thus far, I guess.
It's been better than I expected. But as a whole.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's kind of exactly where we thought we'd be. In other ways, we're not quite as far along. In other ways, we're further along. Very vague answer, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, the amount we've learned over the last 2 years is far exceeded anything I thought we would really get. You just don't even know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. The relationships we built with our customers is way more than I thought we'd ever have. The relationship we have both with some owner operators, but particularly with, like enterprise fleets and, the different, how integrated we are with some is definitely exceeded my expectation there. The maturity of our leadership team, like Spencer and Patrick, our founders, how much they've grown in a 2-year period. They're like different people than they were 2 years ago, like significantly. And so that's the coolest. Those are like the coolest things to me. And yeah, the stuff I tell people all the time, the business that we're in is like, you're learning logistics all the time. You're learning, kind of venture and startup world, which is its own beast. And then you're learning technology. And so, 3 verticals constantly learning. And, those are definitely in their own rights challenging to navigate. And just like watching our team kind of grow through those has been really, really cool.
What? Oh, interesting question. So I do have something to add to like what he said, and I think everything you said, right, is like what you'd expect from a fast-growing startup, right? Like things went one way that you didn't expect, and like you're growing quickly, and like you find out all these cool avenues that you didn't think you would have, and the leadership team. But ultimately, like one thing, like I don't think it's talked about a ton is like, why don't the majority of logistics companies out of Silicon Valley work that are focused on tech? Because they're so far removed from their actual customers. And like it or not, we're 2 tech companies sitting here, but at the end of the day, the majority of our customers have some type of blue collar background. And if you can't resonate with them from the time they talk to your customer service through the use of your app, your website, your social media, and feel like they belong, you might as well not get in the business, because you're going to get destroyed in the long run by your customers. Your customers being the driver or the carrier. I'm speaking, for us, like that's what we focus on. Like you have to have that blend of both. You have to be super strong in tech, but you're like, for us specifically, like our main customer doesn't give a shit if we use AI.
Mm-hmm.
They
Could not care less. Maybe an investor cares.
What about machine learning?
Yeah.
Good point.
I feel like
Yeah. So
people
that's
reach
all
out to me
accurate.
from Silicon Valley all the time to pick my brain, and it
Yeah.
drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Really?
Hey, can we hop on a call?
I want to pick your brain, and I actually have this new rule where I don't reply to anyone that asks me to pick my brain. It's like, dude, I don't know, that's just
Stop touching my head.
Unless you want to pay me to pick my brain,
People in Silicon Valley, I've noticed, are very one directional and transactional, and
Like as soon as, I mean, it's even like if they ask you for your time, I've gotten on so many calls where they make it feel like you are wasting their time.
Yeah.
I'm like, you asked for this call. I mean, that's just the general vibe that I get from a lot of people. Not everybody, but I totally agree. There's a disconnect in Silicon Valley, and like tech and logistics. But I will also say that, at least from what I've read, a lot of drivers and users of Convoy's app, they actually really liked it.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why Flexport now is acquiring that is because of the fact that there was a user base that actually loved that experience. But I don't know, maybe it was something else at Convoy that was, they seemingly got the user experience right, but they got something else wrong.
They didn't know how to make money.
Well, yes, like, so, like which part of that is the question, right? So like, was it just a deliberate intention that forever we're going to be burning?
And the statement, like, wasn't directed just toward Convoy.
No,
Like-
correct.
like,
I was just,
I mean, there's like a bucket of just like super well-funded companies
Yeah.
that had a base or have a base in Silicon Valley. And I'm not taking shots at Silicon Valley. They've done amazing things.
Yeah.
But for logistics companies in particular, I think they're so far removed from their core customers for the most part that's why you continue to see these companies that are like the TMS for an owner-operator and they're based in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, how many of your customers are you talking to and surrounding yourself with? And like, it's my-
the trend
Yeah.
is generally like on point.
Dude, well, I think what we started with, we were talking about just like hiring in Chattanooga and stuff, and you're like, yeah, we get a good mix of people, with good freight experience and tech experience, and then both. It's like finding those people who are like, maybe they were a broker for a while and like, but are knowledgeable on the tech side. That's like kind of almost like a unicorn in the industry. Like you need more people like that, because when people like that do stuff, like maybe they book freight, like booking freight, like you worked at a shipper, right? You built your own little brokerage. Like that's like valuable experience. And I'd almost rather somebody start with that and learn tech than vice versa. And I feel like a lot of people say like, oh no, we should start with the tech. It's harder to teach someone how to code or whatever. It's like, nah, man, like if you've been in freight, you've made it and you're still here, that's like a good signal for like, you're not going to leave. And
Yeah, you're a hell of a lot tougher than anybody.
Totally.
Yeah, coming from that industry, from just like a SaaS background. You may have to train some people to talk a little more kindly.
Yeah.
We have to work on that.
Yeah.
Speak to our carriers. But you're like, at least that person has spoken to carriers before, and there's so yeah, 100%. I mean, that was to your point. I mean, it is probably our best advantage, and what has allowed us to survive, and what will allow us to continue to thrive, is that we all came at this with backgrounds. And Patrick, our co-founder, worked for an asset-based company in Birmingham. Spencer was in insurance, but all he did was sell insurance policies to trucking companies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice combo.
It was great combo,
For this.
particularly for what we do. From like the insurance exchange and asset side of things, understanding that liability was huge for us. And then I had a brokerage background, so from a true brokerage as well as the shipper side of things. So it was yeah. I mean that gives us more of an advantage than somebody, two like technical founders who came together and could code how to match trailers.
yeah,
That's not what's got.
that's not even the hard part.
That's not
the hard part.
Yeah, I mean the sales cycle of getting in with an enterprise level fleet and having them, like you said, trust you, because you got to have the trust of whoever dispatches their trailers, which may change every few weeks, all the way up to their executive suite, to their technical teams. I mean, that's a pretty diverse range of people, and the most the ones you deal with most every day are your dispatchers, and they're not going to be impressed by
Yeah.
some SaaS exit that's your former company. whatever X so and so on your LinkedIn, they're not looking. Yeah.
What about it? What if it says thought leader?
Or
thought leader?
always
As
see
long as
like
it has a voice bubble next to it.
Lean
yeah.
Six Sigma. I don't even know what that means. What is that?
That carries a little more weight. Probably. Yeah.
Do you have that, AJ? You're sorry.
No, I did not. But if you can actually run a warehouse or run a manufacturing
What is
line,
that exactly? Because I see it a lot. I just don't know what it means. What's the actual word for it? It's a Lean Six Sigma belt.
Isn't Six Sigma like a training, like a accreditation training thingy, like for sales and stuff?
Lean operation.
It's lean operations, yeah. And Six Sigma is like a math equation for something. There's not actually like 6 principles to it, but
I thought it was like a black belt in like Taekwondo.
well, they do it. They have changed it to where like you do get like belts as you go up,
Yeah.
but it's all about like lean manufacturing and the philosophy
Okay,
behind
got
that.
it. It would be pretty cool to have like someone like put like their colored belt of Taekwondo on there instead of like black belt, like White Street does. I don't know. Like, I think that
Carries more weight.
exactly. Here's a lot more weight. If you told me you're a black belt in Taekwondo, I'd be like, much respect to you. You know, like
I'll get off your dock.
yeah, I won't ask you to pick your brain. I probably have more questions.
Well, a lot of other industries have like titles that are actually meaningful, right? Like in investment banking or in like developers, there's like junior and staff and like senior, and those all apparently actually like have meaning. But like in freight, all our titles are like completely made up. Like
you know what's funny? My first day of the job at like my second brokerage, I'm like, all right, like I was like creating an email signature, and it was like a small company, 7 people. And I asked like my manager, who was like one of the owners, I was like, what should I put my title like in my email newsletter, in my email signature? It's like, put whatever you want. Like I don't care, like, whatever you want. Like and like so I just put freight broker. And I sent out an email. I was like, "You put freight broker? No, don't put freight broker. Like, put like something like nicer. Like,
Yeah.
And then I put like, I don't know. I put like carrier. It was like, no, I put like logistics manager. He's like, all right, just put that. And I'm like, when I just put my actual job, like, freight broker. He's like, no, don't put freight broker.
Never say that.
yeah, we'll work on coming up with some cool titles. Maybe we can come up with our own like black belt program.
What are y'all's titles? What are your titles now? You have titles?
Founder and president.
Hell yeah.
Chief everything officer. I think.
Yeah, that's really good. I like the chief.
Very accurate, probably.
Yeah. That's my title, I think.
Yeah.
Marketing.
I do everything.
Yeah,
Chief
you're
everything
right.
officer.
Yeah, you did design and
I
marketing
literally do
today.
everything. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I got a question. Y'all all came. Where'd y'all come from? I should know this, but
I came from Chicago. Originally from Chicago.
were you in Chicago now?
We drove.
We drove from Chicago to Chattanooga. I live in Poland.
Okay.
But, like, I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised.
Sweet. You live in Poland
I
now?
live in Poland.
I didn't
Derek's straight from Poland. He's a videographer.
Did y'all cut? You flew
Yeah.
just for
F3.
F3?
Yeah.
Awesome.
For this podcast.
You might be the longest travel time. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, Boris is coming in too. So
Boris from Macedonia. He might actually like beat us by a few hundred kilometers.
Okay. We'll do that math later.
Yeah. If you're using kilometers, you're coming from away.
Yeah. You weirdos. That's all right. Anyway,
Yeah. But sweet.
You drove down from.
we drove yesterday.
So we flew from
I'm
Phoenix
from Phoenix. Yeah.
2 days ago. Then we
Yeah.
drove out yesterday morning from Chicago, which was a great drive. That was really nice. But yeah.
What are you looking forward to the most?
But F3.
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm looking most forward to eating Mexican food. I'm starving, so that's what I'm thinking
meeting
about.
all the people that I've we have met like through the Lost Freight Discord or through Twitter, X, like meeting everybody in person finally. There's so many people.
I mean,
This is going to be. I don't think people realize how good this is going to be. Like, there's going to be a lot of people here that know each other just from the internet.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's
cool.
gonna be a great show. So
1:40 p.m. 1:40 p.m. Tune in on Wednesday. I'm demoing the Freight Gong.
Wednesday or tomorrow?
Right?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, I thought it was tomorrow.
I like that.
Yeah. 1:40 p.m.
gonna be at-
Freightway's main stage.
Nice.
Watch me make a fool of myself.
Cool. Awesome, guys.
Hell yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Sweet
Party
dudes.
tonight's gonna be great.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for.
Thanks for sharing the story.
Yeah, man.
Stories.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.